Amanda Waller has suffered immeasurable loss and the loss of her humanity along the way. Now, after having blazed her own trail into the world of Washington politics, the Wall launches a new phase of her career. Phase X. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Absolute Power Origins issue number 2 and find out together, shall we? So then, as we join the book, we jump ahead several years from where the last issue left off. Waller is now a major power player in the world of espionage, and in her internal monologue, she gives a pitch as for her brand new ideology as it relates to the superhero community. How the very concept of a superhero is flawed and a slippery slope that could very well end up costing the entire country its freedom. How all the colorful masks, powers, and code names are just one giant smokescreen. Vigilantes become heroes, then superheroes. They have their own teams, their own communities. They're not loyal to anyone except for themselves and not accountable to any power but their own. Also, in a nice bit of artistic juxtaposition as Waller tells this story, we see Batman and Superman face each other down for a fight before eventually pulling back to reveal the entire Justice League battling what looks to be a Mazo for the first time. Eventually, it's revealed that this whole speech Waller has been giving right now is actually a sales pitch as she attempts to recruit Clarence Sims, aka Cyclotron, for her brand new governmental program, Task Force X. As Waller explains, this brand new task force is her way of helping to balance the scales against the coming of the super threats. A place that someone like Clarence here could actually find the opportunity to be useful to his country, to become a real hero, to be more than just a work-a-day career criminal who signed away his humanity when he was experimented on by a tech company, turning him into a human bomb. At first, Waller actually seems to like Clarence too, because he's a man with a similar background to her. Now, someone Amanda Waller most certainly doesn't like is a dude named Dante. He works at a local tax office, and we see the Wall roll up on him, show him something from her phone, say that she knows all of his secrets, is always watching him before leaving the poor guy in a teary mess. Who is this poor guy? What did he do to make Waller so angry? Well, more on that in a minute. From there, we see Waller assemble the first ever incarnation of the Suicide Squad, and in a wonderful bit of continuity, this is in fact the same Suicide Squad lineup from Joshua Williamson's underrated Justice League vs. Suicide Squad series, back before the bombs in the necks, and back in the days when Waller might very well have overreached by recruiting powered individuals who are too much to control, like Dr. Polaris, Emerald Empress, Johnny Soros, and even Lobo. Naturally, the main man has no time or patience for this inaugural mission that Waller is sending him on, but he opts to do it for the money. In fact, the Zarnian even makes a great little joke about, hey, where are you sending us, Commie-stan? Only for Waller to actually fire back with a pretty good joke saying, no, North Commie-stan, actually. Well, it's never said outright. The country that the task force is sent to invade is none other than Jang Sung, which is actually another reference to the 2017 Suicide Squad run. Clearly, John Ridley did his homework on this one, and I'm wildly impressed. Now, while the task force themselves thinks that this mission might involve some sort of dirty backroom regime change, in reality, Waller has a prize in mind: the God Engine. The amazing device that this country's dictator has been using to create a brand new super army he calls the Gods. Of course, much like in that original story from 2017, everything ends up going horribly wrong. Despite Waller actually believing in Clarence Sims, it's actually Cyclotron who suggests that his fellow squad mates should betray Waller and take the God Engine for themselves. After all, Waller doesn't really care about them, they're expendable, sent to die at her leisure at a moment's notice. Wow, you know, it was on that day they really did become the Suicide Squad. Now, as I mentioned before, Waller just can't blow up their heads yet, but she does decide to appeal to Lobo's own mercenary sense of greed, deciding to pay him double to kill Cyclotron, which he does. Unfortunately, in doing so, the bomb inside Cyclotron goes off, destroying basically the entire country. Waller will have to answer to the president for what she did today, but thankfully the Wall is, as always, a master of spin. Oh, come on, they were enemies of America. No one even knew my team was there, and I proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that we can indeed control super individuals and make them serve the state. It's just, you know, next time I'll have to pick weaker, more exploitable members for my Suicide Squad and have a way to control them, but more on that in a minute. While Waller's work life might be thriving, her home life continues to fall to pieces all around her. Her daughter comes in a rage when we learn that Dante was actually her fiance. Yeah, that's That's right, Amanda Waller, kind of a crappy mother-in-law on top of everything else, who would have guessed it? It's not that Amanda hates this Dante guy, it's that she has no strong opinion of him one way or another. She wanted to test him to make sure that he was strong enough to protect her daughter. Obviously, Waller's daughter is absolutely horrified to see what her mother is becoming, especially as she says that she is doing it to try and honor her dead husband and children, even if it means becoming a monster along the way. And even after all the murder, after all the wet work and subterfuge, probably the worst thing Waller does in this issue is actually just lie to her daughter straight up, saying that she won't get in too deep, even though we as the reader know full well that she absolutely is. As the comic comes to an end too, Waller ends up discovering the ultimate stick to use with her carrot. Cyclotron might have betrayed Waller and let her down, but in death, Clarence Sims might actually have done more for Task Force X than he ever could have imagined. It was him that inspired Waller to put high-yield explosives inside the bodies of her meta-agents. And as the comic comes to a close, well, we all know how that story ended, don't we? And so that was Absolute Power Origins issue number 2, everybody, and once again, I thought this was a really strong offering from John Ridley and company, especially if you're a longtime Suicide Squad fan like me. This whole thing reads as an absolute love letter to characters and continuity that are much too often ignored. In fact, probably the worst thing I can say about this story is, damn, why did it only have to be 3 issues? There are so many more chapters in Waller's life I want to see. Again, probably the most surprising thing about this series is how it goes out of its way to really make Waller a kind of dark mirror to Batman of all people, a woman driven by tragedy, thoroughly obsessed with a mission, even when it means completing that mission means absolutely destroying your personal and family life to do it. It's the little moments too that make me absolutely love this story and make it probably one of my favorite of the year so far. Waller is just so threatening and so absolutely terrifying to just regular old people like her daughter's fiance, who did nothing wrong but still managed to earn her wrath. This issue also seeks to imply too that maybe at some point in her life Waller was actually capable of being hurt. Maybe she did actually envision Task Force X as a force for good, as a force for redemption, but very quickly she abandoned any of those ideals and turned the organization into the absolute meat grinder that we all know. Overall, I think I'd give this issue a very positive 8.5 out of 10. I'm really loving this one, and out of all the Absolute Power tie-ins, I'm really glad I decided to give this one the time.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.